Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 69 of Lonely Gods. I'm your host, David Reinhardt. I'm joined here, as always, by Kate Riley.
We're not gonna make a bunch of oral sex jokes, are we?
I thought about it, but then I was like, nah, why do it? I thought about it enough to probably, if you hadn't also mentioned, like, we're not going to make a bunch of oral sex jokes
Yeah, well,
because not only because, well, I mean, I guess it is still kind of funny, but
I guess we have to
everyone
kind
else
of.
has already done it.
It
Every other
has, but
podcast that hits episode 69 does it, and also there's
let's
not,
just get it over with, head it
but there's
off.
not, it's
So
not
that,
really relevant to Doctor Who.
well, no, I mean, sex and Doctor Who is a kind of like watching your parents kiss. It's really
Yeah,
weird. I mean,
it's
sex and Torchwood is one thing, but sex and Doctor Who is.
yeah, Sex and Torchwood was fine because it was a very adult show, but no, anytime it like happens or they talk about it in Doctor Who, it's weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, that one orgy comment from Charlie was like, what?
Yeah,
Or Minuet in Hell when there's like the weird like Satan worshipping S&M club in the
yeah,
awful accented America.
yeah.
Christ. Uh,
And then it gets a little weird with Amy and Rory at one point because they are like a couple.
well, yeah, but I mean
Guilty pleasure.
that makes sense, and I'm sure they're
But
not
it's still
like
just kind of
fucking
like
balls in her ass, you know.
no, but they're in costumes at one point,
That's
and
all
they're
right.
like, "Why are you in costumes?" And they're like, and it's like, okay, that I didn't need that joke.
Why
Like,
are you dressed up like Indianapolis Jones?
God
We're
damn
just
it.
for practicing for a play.
What is that from?
Trailer Park Boys.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
When fucking Ricky launches the
yes.
car into Mr. Lady's trailer, and come out, he's dressed as Indiana Jones, Randy's a bumblebee.
Yeah, they're always practicing for the community plays.
Although I think that's the last time where they just eventually just give up and it's like, yes, we're fucking. And nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody again. And then that becomes one of the main plots of the show.
Is
It's
their,
Randy and
their
Mr. Leahy's
relationship.
relationship.
Such a
Anyway, that
such a weird, greasy show. I'm so surprised that like the like queer content in that show is like so normalized and not even like commented on for the most part. And but it's like such a greasy like low budget show with people you'd expect that would kind of be like grossed out about it, but like nobody gave a shit.
yeah, it's a very forward. I get forward thinking's not the right term, but just like literally they're at the point way past the rest of the goddamn world. They were like, this just isn't. No one cares. Like it's not a big deal. Like
Literally no one cares. I mean,
literally
and the
no
other
one
thing is
cares.
like,
But they're the type. But yeah, but the quality of the show is the type of show that would make gay jokes.
okay, it's like, and Randy, nobody cares you're banging a crossdresser. It's just that they're nuts. You weird spiritual bastard.
Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't Doctor Who.
No, it's not. But goddamn, Trailer Park
I,
Boys is great.
I almost feel like starting a Trailer Park Boys podcast, but it would basically just be quoting back
It
and
would
forth
be
for an
me
hour.
and you doing this for like 2 hours every month.
Yep.
Though I do have to say, I had never heard the word greasy used as like an adjective like it is on Trailer Park Boys, and like you describing the show as a greasy show, it's like okay, no, that is actually a perfect word to use to describe these things because
Oh, it absolutely is.
because when you think about it, like if it was a physical object you could hold, it would feel like cheap, greasy fast food,
Well,
and
I
it
was
would
thinking
not.
that it's more like a synonym for sleazy, I guess. But I mean, yeah, greasy is something that I hadn't heard used in this context before I watched the show either. But it
But
is
even when you
perfect.
think of like sleazy people, they're usually like
Yeah,
literally kind of greasy
I
looking.
don't know, I don't know if it's a maritime like Canadian thing or if it's something that they kind of came up with. But I first heard it on that show.
And it's a perfect word for
It's
that.
greasy. Anyway, Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Yes, we are here to discuss Tom Baker's first season and one of the most, and the season with the most iconic classic Doctor Who story,
Pretty
Genesis of
much.
the
So.
Daleks.
Iconic classic Doctor Who story. It's the Sontaran experiment. um, all right. Well, where do you want to start?
Well, should with Robot, of course.
All right. What do you want to say about Ruff? Dave.
Robot's about a robot. It's
Hmm.
basically the plot of the War Machine,
Uh,
except
well, it's more like the plot of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, but a little bit
that
like War
too.
Machine, I
That
guess.
too. They're both like that. Just the scientific mastermind trying to spite the world, and then the Brigadier uses a laser beam, and the robot gets big.
Make my monster grow.
That's all I could think. That scene just it reminded me of Power Rangers.
It was one of the funniest things I've seen in the show, just because, not just because the Brigadier fucked up so bad, but because it cuts back to the look on his face, like, oh god
And
damn it.
it's so great. Yes, it's so priceless. Just fuck.
That and him getting accidentally hypnotized by the crystal is one of my favorite Brigadier stuff.
Yeah, that was really good too.
Oh man.
The show.
This is a strange franchise.
Yes. This is also a very strange season.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, at least when you factor in the ending, the
Mm.
final story as part of the season as a whole, yeah, I do.
How so?
Because that ending is really bad.
Well, it is really bad. It wasn't
Like the
supposed to be
season's
the ending
pretty.
though, so
Yeah, the season's pretty decent, and then that
I think the
ending.
season's a lot more than decent. I think it's the best season in a long time.
Yeah, it just ends on such a.
It ends on a fucking chart, but the rest of it is pretty high quality. Because like Robot in particular, for me, I think that Robot, it's not the greatest story in the world, but it's a really great debut story. And even though it's kind of old territory, Tom Baker brings enough new energy to it that it's interesting, and he's just so fun to watch. That and he's so enthusiastic right from the get go and he it is such a different take on the part than what John Pertwee had. That I think if you're watching the show in order, where you've had 5 seasons of John Pertwee, and then you pop Robot into your DVD player, you're going to be transfixed. You can't look away from Tom. Like he's such a good Doctor, and he's so, I don't know. He's silly in the right parts. He's serious in the right parts. Like his performance is just perfect.
It's amazing. It is amazing, and then
And that is the thing that elevates Robot from being an all right story to being a good story.
that and that look on the Brigadier's face.
Well, that too. But
Like that is
Nicholas Courtney has never disappointed me.
no, he's always been amazing. But God, I just that look. Like I wish that could be a meme, but it would never be because.
Nobody would know what it was.
And the people that would, you wouldn't want to be using it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, over the last few weeks, I think there'd be good use for memes like that, given what Phil Morris has been up to. But
Wait, what?
uh, Phil Morris has basically self-destructed on social media over the last few weeks.
Why?
He's gone fucking insane. He's Phil,
For the people that don't remember or may not know if
Phil
they're
Morris is a missing episodes hunter who runs an archive company called TIEA, International Enterprises Archives, I think. And almost a year ago to the month, he found for us in return Web of Fear, an Enemy of the World. And since then, people have long speculated that he has had more episodes in his possession. And whether or not that's true, I don't really know. There's some compelling circumstantial stuff, but basically, I feel like if he has more, they'll come out, and if he doesn't, then we have lovely reconstructions, and so it's all good. But anyway, he basically sort of melted down on social media over the last couple of weeks. It all started back in late August. He watched Deep Breath, went on the Missing Episodes Facebook group to rant about how much he hated Deep Breath, which is like, okay, fine. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. A lot of
Wait, which
classics.
one's Deep Breath?
Deep Breath is the Capaldi premiere.
Oh.
And
What?
yeah, but it's like, you don't like it, you don't like it. A lot of classic series fans don't like the new series a lot of the time. That's fine. And then he posted saying about how much he doesn't like Stephen Moffat running the show,
Well,
how much Stephen Moffat's been ruining the show. Again, not an uncommon sentiment. And then he says, my BBC contacts say that a writer called Anthony Horowitz will replace Stephen Moffat. And a lot of people jumped on this, and a lot of people confronted him, saying that you're spreading rumors about who's going to replace Stephen Moffat, and you got mad at us for spreading rumors about what episodes you may or may not have, without ever actually denying anything. So pot and kettle black, and he got upset about this, and he went on Twitter and he started tweeting to people like UK journalists and BBC head of drama of all people about demanding that they replace Stephen Moffat with Anthony Horowitz. And then, when it turns out that the mainstream media didn't bite, and the Doctor Who fan sites started writing about it, he deleted all his tweets, turned around and insisted that never did he once ever spread a rumor. What are you talking about? Oh my lord. It's like, Phil, we have screen caps. We saw you do this in real time. And he seems to have gone on a bit of a rampage over the last few weeks. Just shit like this, where he'll tweet something like nasty or insane and then delete it a few minutes later and claim he never did. And then, the week after that, he went on a whole crusade about how Doctor Who is sexist because it doesn't employ any women writers, and Stephen Moffat, has a policy, an official policy of not hiring female writers, and I'm going to write an article in the papers about this, and blah 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 blah. And the only reason it's so transparent, because even if he does care about these issues, he only ever brought this up because people caught him in a lie, and he's trying to obfuscate the issue and make people forget. And recently, over just this past week, he watched Listen, and he compared scenes of children hiding in their beds as to allegations of pedophilia that have been plaguing some of the BBC's former employees, saying that, children hiding in their beds, I can't imagine that, that's not good, because people who have had been molested and all this stuff and blah 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 blah, and I don't think that's okay. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We'll try and find the actual quote of what he said specifically about the pedophilia thing.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? He's gone completely insane. Let me see. Phil Morris continues to attack Doctor Who. This is the article from Doctor Who Worldwide. Basically, Phil Morris needs a PR person. He got into a Twitter fight with Gareth Roberts, who is a crew member on the show, and said directly to Gareth Roberts, who criticized his awful grammar and spelling. He said to Gareth Roberts, "My job isn't to make tweets with good grammar. My job is to find missing TV, which I have more than you know." Ooh, that's interesting. Anyway, here's what he has said about stuff. He says, from this Facebook Missing Episodes group, he says, "I will always love and support Doctor Who, but not the small clique group of Uber fans that run it and surround it and are running it into the ground. The drop in viewing figures is to say it all, really. I guess the general public have an agenda, too, viewing public walking away from Doctor Who. Strange, lowest rating to date for this series so far. The point with the women writers are Doctor Who Cardiff under Stephen Moffat don't employ any screen credits since taking over as showrunner. Prove that. Well, to everyone who has enjoyed things so far, great, but on a quick note, the scripts are more or less word for word cut and paste Sherlock. I don't know how accurate that is, but that sounds silly to me." Oh, here we go. Children's homes, people hiding under the bed. Rotherham and Jimmy Savile come to mind. 4.8 million viewers won't be long now. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thousands didn't. Children's homes. Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris victim, certainly didn't have a good friend who was abused at a children's home. Certainly didn't enjoy it. Which is like, what are you talking about? For the record, Jimmy Savile, Rotherham, and Rolf Harris are pedophile scandals that have been going on in the UK, and Savile and Harris worked for the BBC for a number of years. But basically, he's gone insane. After that, he posted a thing saying, I'm withdrawing from social media, and it actually had proper spelling and grammar, so somebody probably wrote it for him. And even this is another thing. He deleted it and claimed that it never happened. It's nonsense, and I don't think he understands how the internet works. Because just because you delete something doesn't mean it's gone. There are archives. People have screen capped this. Like, you're fucked. And if he does have more episodes, I feel like I don't know how this would affect like the negotiations or the business end of these things, because people are sick of him, and you've just publicly shat on the people that you were going to have to do business with if you find anything else. And that doesn't make any sense to me, which makes me feel like maybe he doesn't have anything else, because I can't imagine a sensible businessman would do that. And it's gotten to the point where Tom Spilsbury, who is one of the editors at Doctor Who magazine, has officially, well, not officially, but on his Facebook come out and said that like all of this infighting has been caused by one person only, and we're not giving him the time of day unless he actually puts up or shuts up. Like we're done. We're cutting ties. That's it. So it's a bit of a kerfuffle and a bit of a silliness, and yeah.
That's really interesting.
It's a very long and a very convoluted story, and I'm probably fucking up some of the details, but to the best of my memory, as I've been following along with this, that's kind of the major points.
Why didn't I know about this?
Because you haven't been following along with the missing episodes forums and stuff. It's kind of it's a niche thing. And I mean, the other big thing that happened was that when Ian Levine had a stroke, for some reason, like, that never stopped the feud between him and Phil. They just kept firing back and forth. And I mean, poor Ian was partly paralyzed, and he was still having people tweet for him, I guess. But I mean, the problem is that Ian, who can be an asshole himself sometimes, is kind of like crying victory because, he's basically claiming that, I told you all this earlier in the year. I said that Phil Morris wasn't to be trusted. I said that he was nuts. I said that he's impossible to negotiate with. Now look. So I don't know how things will play out. Maybe his withdrawal from social media is kind of like a gonna save face a little bit. I don't know. We'll see, but it's really just it's weird.
I feel like this is really interesting, and not in like a good way.
No, it's
like watching things burn kind of way, which is what I imagine.
Really fucking sorted, and like
what I imagine, because I haven't read the article yet, but I read about the Cracked this article Zoe Quinn wrote for Cracked about the whole thing, and just the opening of that is a message from the Cracked editors being like, so we kept getting all these emails and messages that we should really write something about this was going on, and we didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, so we looked into it, and then we wondered why the fuck they wanted us to write something about it.
Well, the forum thread for the ongoing rumor discussion at Planet Mondas, which is pretty much the only place on the internet you can talk about it anymore freely, has since October last year has hit like 4,100 pages. It's a very long and very sordid and complicated and fucking weird saga, and I love it. It's become my favorite soap opera. It's like crack. And
should I go to that forum and start reading from the beginning?
If you want to, but again, it's 4,100 pages.
But is it like crack? Because I feel like forum posts could totally be like that, and that might be really interesting.
It is really interesting. I mean, obviously, there's going to be lulls because people will be posting in thread about nothing and arguing back and forth, for days, in between like interesting news items. But for the most part, yeah, for me, it's my favorite soap opera. And the thing is, Planet Mondas is the place to be for rumor discussion, I think, because I mean, I don't post, I just lurk for the most part. But because all the other sites, the big sites, have been censoring the discussion, the Missing Episodes forum has
Oh
been
my god, this is
locking.
totally the Doctor Who version of fucking the Zoe Quinn scandal.
You might think that, but this shit's been going on for over a year because this
Except it's
this
been going on
this
forever, and then one of the main people in the conversation just had a mental breakdown. Basically, it
pretty
sounds
much.
way
I mean,
better,
this
way
this
better.
all this all originally started back in June of last year when Ian Levine tweeted that he had evidence that episodes were being returned, and this was shipping quotes uh, from Africa to Phil Morris for 3-ton shipping containers and stuff like that. But anyway, a missing episodes forum has been locking threads pretty much automatically on this forever and a day. The big forums like Gallifrey Base
The
do have a missing
ongoing.
episodes thread, but if you talk about anything, like, you're fucked. Basically, if you talk about Phil Morris on the Gallifrey Base episodes thread, you get your post deleted, which is bizarre because, like, he is the story. And the same thing, the missing episodes Facebook group. I mean, there's basically censorship everywhere to keep the party line with keeping Morris happy and clamping down on debate. And I don't think it's anything sinister. I think it's because forum mods are sick of bullshit and fighting. But I definitely admire Planet Mondas for never bowing to that and allowing the fights to take place, and people deal with it and they move on.
I
So
bookmarked this. I'm so fucking reading that later.
it's a very, very long thing, but I hope you enjoy it. It's kind of like reading War and Peace at this point, but
I really want to see this. I want to watch this. I want to read how one of these stories unfold in not in like a reported on fashion and about something that like. I love Doctor Who, but I really don't give a shit. Like, well, like I'm on the same page as you. I want the lost episodes returned. If there's news about that, that's awesome. But I'm not going to get super invested into someone saying like rumors and shit because
yeah.
either
Well,
way.
here's the problem with why the rumor will, like, persistently not die, and that is because last year, before Enemy and Web were revealed as being correct, both the BBC and Phil Morris issued denials saying nothing is back, and I don't blame them for that. And the restoration team as well said that it was nonsense. The rumors were nonsense, and I don't blame them for that because, I mean, they're protecting commercial interests. They probably signed NDAs. They can't just come out and say, yes, you're right, haha, you caught us. Like, that doesn't work that way. Um, and that's fine. But what it does mean is that a lot of posters lose trust in people like that in official places when they say that nothing's found, because past has proved that they've said that before when there is something found. And on the flip side, most of the time before this, people would dismiss missing episode rumors as probably nonsense because, how unlikely is it that things would turn up after all these years? But last year, they were right. So a lot of the people who were right ended up with a very strong and very loyal audience for their rumors because they had some past cred under their belts now. And that doesn't mean they're right this time automatically, but it does mean that people are willing to listen to them, and it does mean they're less willing to listen to official sources. So, I mean, it's a bit of a mess, I guess, as far as this rumor ever dying down anytime soon, because, you know,
This is super fucking interesting.
it's pretty interesting. I mean, and the thing about it is like, a lot of the time, like, Phil Morris himself has kind of always played this both sides. Like, he's never said he has anything more, but he's never said he hasn't had anything more directly. He's never come out and said, don't have any more Doctor Who. He says things like, expect the unexpected, the wind is blowing in the right direction, watch this space. The kind of sort of like evasive, like, non-answers that a politician would give. And so, like, it just feeds the fire. And I have to imagine he's done that deliberately, because after a year of this, surely he would have clued in. But anyway, I sure as hell hope Gamergate doesn't go on this long, honestly. But who the hell knows?
Probably will.
Hell has no fury like the internet. Very
Yeah.
bad. So, yeah, Robot was good.
Robot. Yeah, no, I liked Robot.
And I really like Tom Baker. But is there anybody who doesn't like Tom Baker? Like, I can't think of any Doctor Who fans I've ever met who have watched Tom Baker and didn't like him.
I haven't met a doctor I disliked.
That's probably true, actually. I agree with you there. I mean, there's some I like more than others, but I don't think there's anybody that I've gone like, ugh.
Yep. So,
I mean, six, 7, and 8 kind of have their detractors. But sometimes it's a case of a good actor given a bad script, especially like if all you saw of Paul McGann was the TV movie, you'd probably think he wasn't a very good doctor. But if you listen to the Big Finish stuff, he's really really good at it. It's just he had a terrible script.
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, I did want to bring something up. I was thinking about it earlier before we
okay.
move on to Ark in Space. You know how there's been all that talk that they're developing a non-canonical Doctor Who movie?
I've heard stuff about that, but I haven't really followed it closely because I kind of
Neither have
got.
I, because they keep bringing it up and then nothing
I've been
happens.
burned by Peter Cushing before.
I was
Let's
gonna
just
say,
say
did
that.
no one like look back at history and and realize that, hey, we made two non-canonical Doctor Who movies and they were both fucking terrible,
Yeah.
and then especially I feel like the or like the talk died because then they put out now two different Doctor Who episodes in the theater and like sold tons of tickets. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't see the reason why they couldn't make a feature film just
canonical.
that is canonical and using the current Doctor and the current companions. I mean, a lot of the stories, both in the new series and the classic series, are played out over 2 hours anyway. And it wouldn't, some stories are more standalone than others, and if you were doing a feature film, even if it was canonical, it wouldn't have to require a lot of foreknowledge by necessity. It could easily be a standalone story, but canonical and using the current actors. I mean, I don't see why not.
Reasons, Kate.
Well, I mean, reasons of scheduling, I guess, mostly because Doctor Who is a pretty intensive show to make, and if you're doing you know uh, a season every year, you don't really have a lot of time for anything else. But at the same time, like if instead of like the David Tennant specials, they had made a David Tennant movie, you know,
Yeah, that
it
would
would
be
have been it would have
awesome.
been doable in sort of a year like that where there's not really a proper season.
That would be interesting. So
But
next up is Ark in
actually,
Space.
before we move on, do you want to? I
Oh.
wanted to ask your thoughts on Harry, since he was introduced in Robot. Let's lump him in under the Robot
I
banner.
like Harry. I think he's been a good. I like when the Doctor has male companions.
Because you hate women.
I no, because the Doctor usually has female companions, and I think it's interesting to see him have to get along with a dude, and like, cause usually there's, I don't know, especially modern Doctor Who likes to try to play the romance card, but they don't really do that in the classic series. But
Well, I mean, they do sometimes, but
yeah, I don't know. It's it's just interesting to have a different perspective since the prototype is usually the Doctor and a female companion. And
yeah.
I
Well, I
like
mean, you
Harry. I
say that
think
that's the
he
archetype, but a lot of the time early on it wasn't. I mean, what was the? I think John Pertwee was actually the first Doctor who had just a female companion. I,
maybe.
I think, because Hartnell and Troughton always had a male companion pretty much. I think William Hartnell had just Dodo with him from War Machines, but he picks up Ben right
Hey,
away, so it doesn't really count.
um,
And then Troughton always had Jamie. So,
yes.
but I do like the male companion dynamic. Um,
Also, I like Harry. He reminds me a lot of Ian.
you know what? Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, I kept almost calling him Ian when we were discussing these episodes on the show, because he's played by an actor called Ian Marter, and he reminds me a fair bit of Ian the character. So it's I almost always say Ian instead of Harry for some stupid reason.
Yeah, no, but
Um,
I really liked I liked what he brought to the already established Doctor and Sarah Jane dynamic.
I did too, and I liked. I don't know. He was a good fit personality-wise, but I also feel like sometimes the stories didn't like utilize him
Yeah,
quite
no, no,
right.
I agree.
Like I think, but I don't know if that's entirely fair either because for the first season with a new companion, like a lot of those scripts are being written before they can really see how the actor is. So it's not usually until like the second season or towards the end of the first where they can kind of tailor scripts to the actor's strengths. And I think that if Harry got that chance, it would be pretty decent. It's just that they kind of have to stop writing scripts for two characters instead of three.
Yeah,
But Ian is good,
that's
and he or wow, Harry is good.
very.
But and he has a certain amount of um, I don't know. He's a bit of a straight man, I guess, when he's paired up with Tom. Because Tom can be very quirky and eccentric, and Harry's kind of very buttoned up and your traditional sort of male hero archetype, and it's kind of fun to have the two of them play off each other, especially because Harry is like so out of his depth with like space stuff. He has no idea what's going on.
It's great.
He looks at everything through the lens of being a Navy doctor.
It reminds me a lot of Ian,
And Ian was fantastic.
and Ian was fantastic.
Well, I mean, his relationship with the Doctor is a little bit different than
Yeah,
than Ian and Hartnell, because Ian and Hartnell early on they were in a lot of like confrontation and sort of bickering and stuff. It wasn't like it was a bro relationship like Jamie had.
but it eventually became that for Ian,
Yeah,
the Doctor.
I think so. Well, I think it's one of those more relationships where the Doctor's like, I don't want you to know that I care, Baka.
Yeah,
It's not like I like you or anything, Chesterton.
but
Whatever. Stamp of
Ark,
approval with Harry for me.
yes, Ark in Space.
Arkansas. Arkansas. Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
Sarah Jane was unconscious a lot.
Yeah, she was. I don't know if I have much else to say about it that I haven't said already in the episode, other than like the longer I think about it, the more it reminds me of Alien. um,
Yeah, and I don't know. That episode,
I,
it was okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good.
It
It
was
was
decent, but it
it was
wasn't
a good story.
it wasn't like super memorable. It was kind of it was good, but it was kind of forgettable, I think.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I go that far. I think it's pretty memorable. I think it's better than decent. It's really quite good. It's just I think I've kind of said my piece on that one already. I don't have a whole lot to add to it that wasn't said before. I think, like I said then, I think the set design is fantastic. The
Yes,
aliens
no,
themselves aren't entirely
no,
great,
maybe
but
that's why I don't like it that much, just because they're like those weird
they're
things.
weird alien poop sticks. But
Yeah, slug things.
yeah, but like Nerval looks really good. It's nice to see Harry and the Doctor bond. There's some nice atmospheric
I don't know. It was
stuff.
just
I liked the sort of I liked the frozen future humans. I liked the dialogue. I liked the performances. It has a lot going for it.
I guess my big problem with Ark in Space was just that Sarah Jane was unconscious for most of it, and it 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 makes a lot more sense when you're talking about, yeah, there is that kind of pattern where when there's a new like with this, they were been writing for one companion, now there's two, and they haven't gotten the hang of it yet, so Sarah Jane just kind of goes away for a little while so they can try to get a better grasp on Harry.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, the Nerva Beacon is an awesome set, and I like that they go back to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point they pretty much had to because it cost them so fucking much. But
Yeah.
um, I just like to be clear that just because I don't have a lot to say about Ark in Space, I don't think it's by any means a bad story. I really
Oh, I
really
don't
like
think
it.
it's bad
Just
either.
it's just I don't really have much else to add. That hasn't been said before, and I don't really feel any different in retrospect than I did when I first watched it. I've always liked it.
Yeah, I
So
don't
moving
know.
on, shall we move on?
Yeah, but no, yeah, but I didn't mean in any means that Ark in Space is bad. No, no, it's good.
No.
I just don't think it. stands out as much as some of the other ones.
Hmm.
So then we have the Sontaran experiment.
Yeah, that's a weird story.
It's okay.
Um,
It's really short, so it kind of ends pretty quick.
yeah, it's a short story. I mean, it's not that you can't do a Doctor Who story in an hour. A lot of the Big Finish audios are an hour. A lot of the new series episodes are 45 minutes. But I feel like Sontaran Experiment, or even actually going back further, like Edge of Destruction worked well as a two-parter. But Sontaran Experiment was weird because it felt like it was too short um, to have a lot of substance. It kind of introduced some stuff and then didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like it was like a little bit of filler, more or less. It didn't have much of a substance of its own. It was there to take up time between Ark in Space and Genesis.
It reminds me. Oh, I guess you and I talked about it, but I didn't talk about it on Lonely God yet. It reminds me of our discussion about Listen, and because like the internet seems pretty divided on Listen as to whether or not it was good. Like half the people love it and half the people hate it.
Mm.
And we were talking about how it just reminds me a lot of when Doctor Who gets really weird. And that I feel like with every classic story we've run into where Doctor Who gets really weird, if it stays really weird, which most of them, the only one that doesn't is Space Museum.
Well, Mind Robber. Well, Mind Robber stays weird, but not the same kind of weird.
Yeah, no, but they're all like they split people because most of the time they're not a very like wholly satisfying narrative piece. They're kind of all over the place.
Well, the thing is that in order to maintain the mystery of the weirdness, they have to, if they want to remain weird the whole way through, they kind of have to deal in ambiguity, and a lot of people don't like ambiguity, and that's not a slight on them, but more some people like to feel like there's been a completed, full, complete story told. But if you're going to have an ambiguous ending, you're going to have an ambiguous story, and you're not going to explain everything, then those people are going to be feeling like they're left in the cold, and that you didn't sufficiently finish the story. But for me, I really like the weird experimental stuff. I like it when it's just
No, and I liked
bizarre.
Listen. I found Listen to be one of the more unsatisfying episodes, but still in the good in the section of the good weird episodes, because there are some that aren't that great. But no, Listen was good. It just wasn't.
There's some really like weird experimental stuff that I enjoy, and I mean, it's
Like Blink.
it's anything that, well, like Blink, like the first Space Museum, like Mind Robber, like Scherzo, which is a Eighth Doctor thing you haven't got to yet. There's a Seventh Doctor audio actually called Flip Flop, which is cool. It's a 2-disc story. One CD is black, one CD is white. You can listen to them in any order, and the story will still make sense, which I think is
Weird.
really really cool. Um,
What was the one I was trying to think of that was really weird with the classic series?
Edge of Destruction is another one that's sort of a
Edge of
weird anomaly
Destruction.
that I like.
Oh yeah, no, Edge of Destruction was super weird, and I did like that one a lot.
Mm. I think I've actually liked Edge of Destruction more now, like in hindsight, than I
Yes,
did when
me
I first
too.
watched it.
Totally, me too.
'Cause I think
It was
when
so
we first
early
talked,
on.
I think when we first talked about it, we were like, yeah, but now we're sort of, I look back fondly on it.
What was the story with like with the writer or what like the narrative guy writing the story?
That's Mind Robber
Okay, you're right.
with the land of fiction.
Yes, that was super
Yeah.
weird, interesting. Or like that one episode of shit. What is that? The Dalek story where they go to the fun house.
Oh, the chase.
The chase, yeah, it was
that's
the
a weird
chase.
one that I didn't like, but
I liked that it was weird, but no, I did not think that was it was not a good weird story. I
it
just
was
thought
just weird.
I thought it was really interesting, and then the twist didn't make any fucking sense, and it was just weird. It ended up just being weird, but I enjoyed the ride.
No. Well, and I always appreciate when the show takes risk, and I feel actually kind of like a hypocrite saying this because in Doctor Who I like weird time anomaly, space wedgies, and all that stuff. But on Star Trek, I always complain about that because I feel like it's so overused on Star Trek, and the reset button's always hit at the end of it, so it didn't count anyway, and it always makes me mad. But on Doctor Who, I don't care, and I love it. I don't really know what the difference is in my brain, but
Well, in Doctor Who, the really weird stuff usually ends up carrying over into the show, like the effects of it.
hmm.
There is no reset button, you know, like they do in Star Trek.
Well, I suppose that's true. But that was one of the reasons that I got so fed up with Voyager. It's just because it's like every week, it's like, we found this anomaly. Now the ship's weird and things are different. Let's figure it out. And by the end of the episode, it never happened anyway. You know?
But that has nothing to do with the Sontaran experiment. You can see how interesting
No.
the Sontaran experiment was.
It was really disappointing in that regard because I thought Time Warrior was really good, so I figured, hey, the Sontarans are coming back. That should be fun.
And the
And
Time Warrior seemed like it was going to be really stupid, and then it wasn't. It was good.
no, it was good. And I thought actually, I know it's a 2 episode story, but I figured Sontarans are kind of a perfect villain for a 2 episode story because uh, the Sontarans I feel like don't have like the epic fucking gravitas that Daleks or Cybermen
No,
or
that's
the Master
why.
or Davros or anybody has, but they make great villains for like a smaller scale story.
That's why
Yeah.
the Sherlock Holmes and Watson Doctor Who counterparts in the new series have a Sontaran butler because the Sontarans are great, but they don't need to be like the main focus of anything because they're kind of one-dimensional.
Well, even when they are, I mean, I just don't think it necessarily has to be for like a big extended arc.
No,
I think they're good in
kind of
small doses, which is
one-dimensional.
why I was
Yeah.
kind of so disappointed with Experiment because they are a little bit one-dimensional, yeah. I mean, and they're made to be that way because they're a clone race. I mean, there's only so much variation you
That
can
was
get.
I know that's the whole
Um,
point, but it's like usually it's just
yeah. Although, to be said, I also think the Sontarans kind of work better when you're facing one individual Sontaran rather than them coming at you en masse, because then you can sort of get to know that one Sontaran as a character in their own right, instead of just being like a carbon copy, faceless goon.
that's totally true. I can totally agree with you there, but that just didn't work here.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't, and I don't really know what else to say about it. Um, yeah, I guess that's about it. Other than that fucking robot contraption was amazing.
Yeah, no, that was neat.
I don't know what the hell that is, but all right. Well, let's talk about the big one.
Genesis of the Daleks.
Yes.
Genesis of the Daleks is an amazing story. There's a reason why it's the most iconic classic Doctor Who series.
Yeah. It's quite. I mean, is it or is it not the best? I don't think so, but it's
I don't think it's the
definitely the one
best.
that has the broadest appeal.
I don't think it's the best, but I think at like the best story period. But I think it is the reason why it is so well regarded, why it has such a wide and not only the reason why it has such a wide appeal, but why it is like often referred to as the best is that it really cements a shit ton of lore for
Yeah, and
the
and it's
Daleks.
and not only that, it's not a boring info dump. It's a really good drama on top
no,
of it.
yeah, it's an excellent story.
Which is
I
which is
do
why I almost don't believe that Terry Nation wasn't rewritten to hell and back by Robert Holmes to create this. But who knows?
Yeah, it's really good.
Um, yeah, I mean, like the supporting cast is just fantastic. Like, I mean, it's a great introduction for Davros, and then characters like Nider, who is just wonderfully evil and with his fantastic glasses. You know,
Yes.
I just love to watch these characters, and that's great because uh, on a show like Doctor Who, where you've got a very small main cast and you're changing locations every story, when you get a guest cast that can stand toe to toe with your regulars, it just makes the story so much better
It's also
when
just
you like watching them.
it's also just incredibly fucked. Like it is an incredibly dark story that you know will not have a happy ending because this is about the Daleks being they're not going to rewrite. They can't. The Time Lords of us. We've established on the show that you cannot rewrite that big a piece of history.
Yeah, and if you buy into the Time War theory, then it means that this had consequences, like big consequences.
Yeah.
But
Wait, that's the
I
Time
like that
War
it's
theory.
unrelenting. Well, the Time War theory is that this is what started it. The Time Lords going back to try and stop the Daleks being made pissed the Daleks off and started the Time War, where everyone was just going back and trying to change history for their own ends.
I didn't realize that was what the point of the Time War was. I thought the Daleks were just fighting the Time Lords because it's.
Well, yes, but unlike before, it was open warfare, and it was a use of time travel to rewrite things, and it was starting to make reality unravel. Because before, like, Daleks have had time travel before, but they never did anything like this because even they know that you can't fuck with history that much before it all starts to collapse.
And then they started fucking with history.
Well, and then the Time Lords started fucking with history, and they fought right back. Um, but anyway, that's all kind of fan conjecture, and it's interesting, but I mean, it's not really.
It makes logical, like it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's good that it is as dark as it is, though. And I mean, like, I'm always a fan of when things kind of cross the line, and I don't mean like things, it must be dark or I won't enjoy it, but I also feel like, you know I applaud when a story is willing to take risks. I applaud when they're not afraid to break storytelling rules, and I applaud when they're not afraid to go to dark places if that's what the story called for, and this one did. I think if they had treated this the way they did Day of the Daleks and introduced them with weird little saxophone music, it would have been awful. It wouldn't have had any of the power that it had.
It is a brilliant story.
And it's definitely one that has its effect still seen on the show to this day. Like, pretty much every Dalek story since is like an after echo of Genesis, and not like plot wise, but everything that it established and the events of it have just had repercussions and repercussions and repercussions. And it's definitely hugely important, even if you don't think it's the best, and I don't either. But it's very, very, very important.
Oh yeah, and it's a really good episode. Like, it's not only
I just wish that the rest of the classic Dalek stories didn't have to have Davros in all of them, because that's my one complaint, is that Davros became really overused after this. I feel like Davros should have stayed dead, and he should have never come back.
except when he came back in the
Even in Stolen Earth, even in Stolen Earth, I feel like you could have done it without him. You could have
Yeah,
had the
but it
Dalek,
wasn't-
you could
it
have had
wasn't
the Dalek Emperor in there instead, or
but
Dalek
it made
Supreme.
sense
That would have
because
been
they
the
were
same.
worshiping him like a god.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't have to be written that way.
I
You
know,
could have
but it
easily
was.
told that story without Davros.
But didn't I feel like we had this discussion during the Genesis episode? Didn't you like come? I feel like, because I don't know the rest of the Davros stories, that you were like, that one is the one where it made sense and did work.
Oh, I
It
think it
didn't
does.
need
I
to,
think it did work,
and it
but
did, but
I,
it
but
didn't
I,
need to be there. But it worked
no.
there, and most of the other ones, it doesn't really work.
Okay, well, I'll explain myself, I guess. I think it worked for what it was. I think it did work, and it was a good use of Davros, but I feel that doesn't mean that I don't still think he should have just stayed dead. I mean, I can think of a number of shows where I feel like, someone should have, or comic books for that matter, where someone should have been, killed off and stayed dead or whatever, and then they keep, or have left the show, but they keep using them, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But that kind of doesn't change the way I feel like, we should have been done with him already.
You mean Heroes?
A little bit, yeah, definitely Heroes for sure. That's a bad offender right there.
It's not just one.
Apart from
There's
the only
multiple characters that should have
There's
just
a
died
lot
and
of characters
stayed
that should have
gone.
died. Yeah, well, actually, no, and fine, we'll use here as an example. Sylar. Sylar is a great villain in season one. Season one is fantastic television. Lightning in a bottle is absolute dynamite. By the end of that season, Sylar should be dead and should stay dead to make room for other villains to take the stage later. He didn't stay dead, and you know what? In the final season, Sylar has some really good stuff to do. That doesn't change the fact that he should have been dead for like 3 years.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Davros in Stolen Earth. Like, he works in that story, but I think he should canonically still be dead. I think that because there's such a poetic justice to him not giving the Daleks mercy, and then they kill him because when he begs for mercy because they don't have any.
Yeah.
That's such a closed circle. It's so perfect that
No, I agree with you there.
like picking the scab off of that and doing it all over again. Yeah. So. Blech. All right. Revenge of the Cybermen
Is bad.
is bad. Yes,
And
I
it's not
agree.
even bad because it's like Web Planet, but it's bad because it is so fucking boring.
Yeah, and I said this last week, but I just sat there and it all just washed right over me because I was so bored. I didn't
Yes.
care about anything that happened in that show.
And the Cybermen look super
The
weird.
Cybermen look super weird and they sound awful. It's just a nonsense, silly pants, not
It
good
was such it
premise.
was such a bad spot because I was super excited because I was watching I watched Genesis the Daleks with my girlfriend, and I was excited because we were going to keep watching the classic series together. And then we started watching Revenge of the Cybermen, and she
That's a
bowed out. And I
that's a
did
bad
not
one. You
fucking
don't blame her
blame
though.
her.
No,
No, I just
no,
feel
no,
bad that
no.
it was like we're gonna get on a roll again here because we're gonna start. It's in color. It'll be happy, yay! And then no, fuck.
Well, I mean, you could always ask her to try the first episode of a story, and then if she wants to go, she can go. But
Yeah, but goddamn.
that's a bad
I
one.
w-
I mean,
no, no,
it's kind of like when
the
way back
bad
when
part
we
wasn't
had
that.
it's kind of like way back when we had Mila try and join in with us, and the first one she got was censorites. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, you know.
No, the bad part here wasn't that I was sad that she bowed out. It was I was sad that I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I don't blame her at all. I absolutely don't blame her. I mean, there's a but she has a luxury of A, not doing a podcast about it, and B, not being all that invested in it, because like, we're watching it, all of it straight through in order. I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
you and I are the people that have issues about these types of things.
Well,
Like,
no, I mean, I feel like you should watch when you're going through the series for the first time. I think you should watch everything, and I think you should watch a series in order. But if I was like watching this for pleasure, or if I had was going back to just pick a random story, I sure as shit wouldn't pick Revenge of the Cybermen.
and even if I just wanted to watch them all in a row on my own, like I could just not pay attention while these were on. I would still quote unquote watch them, but I would be doing other things. I had to pay attention to all of this boring shit, and it was hard, man. It was hard.
It was very hard, and I mean, I very purposely, you know, watch the DVDs obviously on my television. I don't really sit around. I don't like to watch movies or TV shows on my computer because I don't think computer
No,
chairs
I
are
don't
very
do that
comfortable.
either.
But I watch it on my television. I don't have anything else going on. I sit there, with a snack and a drink, and I pay as full attention as I can. And I'm glad that I did, because if I had a laptop next to me or something, I would definitely, even unconsciously, I would have definitely given into the temptation to go and sort of pay attention to something else. Because my fuck,
Stick around on Facebook because then it's like, well, I'm
yeah.
not really paying attention to Facebook, but I am paying more attention to Facebook than this terrible story.
It's really not. I mean, and the thing that sticks in my craw the most is the gold thing, because like Davros, this is an introduction to a famous monster's mythology that sticks, and I think it's a retarded addition. Why would gold kill
It doesn't
cyber?
make any fucking
No, it
sense.
doesn't. It's
Because
absolutely
because
nonsense.
gold dust clogs their exhaust ports.
Yeah,
And,
like we said
hey,
yesterday, if humans inhaled gold dust, they'd die too. Like
yeah,
that's not unique to
hey,
Cybermen.
why is it only gold that clogs an exhaust port? I feel like anything that could theoretically
But it's
plug
not
up
even
a
their
hole.
exhaust. It's not their exhaust. It's their breathing apparatus, which they don't need because they've
They
walked
don't
around on the
breathe.
surface of the moon
Because
with
cyber,
nothing.
because as
They're
especially like
robots.
they couldn't really highlight it in the classic series, but they highlighted it in the modern series, which is when you take apart a Cyberman, it's a shit ton of machinery and a brain. Like there's they don't keep all of the other organs because they don't fucking
No.
need them.
And I mean, granted, I don't think the classic series went that far, but this is Jerry Davis, and he's one of the two writers that invented the Cybermen. He should know this shit. And even in 10th Planet, they said that we're human beings, but we've augmented ourselves with so many robot parts that we're not like, we don't have any humanity anymore, which to me says that they probably don't have lungs or need to breathe, because we watched the Moon Base and we watched Wheel in Space, and in both of those stories, they're out in the vacuum and they don't care. Gold dust should be no problem.
what about their? But if it clogs their exhaust, oh yeah, but it's a breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
I keep thinking it's an exhaust port because
No.
that would make actual sense.
Well, it would make a
But it's
bit more sense.
no, it would still be dumb, but it would make more sense than a fucking breathing apparatus because as has
No.
been as not we have said, as the show has established, the Cybermen don't have to breathe.
No, they don't. And if they did have to get clogged up, then the moon base they would have ended up killing themselves because the moon dust would have gotten into their stuff and killed them too.
Yeah,
Because moon dust gets into fucking everything.
'cause there's
The
no
only way, the only way that I would have been okay with the glitter gun stuff is, or the gold stuff, is if we had actually got to see a glitter gun in action because that sounds fabulous. I want to see that. Please, for the love of God, make a glitter gun. I want to see the Doctor firing a glitter gun at Cybermen. It's so stupid. I would love it.
I thought we saw a glitter gun in action.
No, we didn't. I mean, the Doctor threw gold dust at them and like forced it into their faces, but we never got a glitter gun.
I feel like it would look like an like just muzzle flash, but like that's the whole effect. Is that supposed to be like the gold shooting out, you know? Like
Yeah.
like a big muzzle flash. But still, I want to see that. I want to see people. I imagine them holding them like shooting from the hip. Like I imagine it like a
Just
shotgun
streamers
blast.
and glitter.
Well,
Of
now you're
fabulous
just
things.
yeah. Dude.
Yes.
But I now I kind of want to see someone firing a gun from the hip that shoots streamers and glitter. God damn it, Kate.
Yeah. What I will say, I guess, in favor of the story, if I can think of anything, is that I like that we went back to Nerva. I like that we ended up seeing a like period of its history that we hadn't seen before. We didn't just go back to the same old arc.
Yes, that was
Um,
super neat.
The location work in the caves, the cinematography is pretty good, and actually it actually makes the Cybermen look sort of good, which is a rarity in this story. Um, and technically, I think it's pretty well made. I liked the effects on the Cybermen plague. I like the effects of the planet surface as they're about to crash. But this, all of that doesn't count for shit if the story is boring. And my God, it was boring.
Isn't the whole point of the Cybermen they're like unstoppable robot creatures and you have to outthink them? Isn't giving humanity a glitter gun that can put them on par combat-wise defeating the point of the Cybermen?
Well, a little bit. I mean, the fact that human beings would have developed a weapons technology to defeat the Cybermen, like, I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that it's such nonsense is
But
the
it
problem.
stays too. Like the whole
Yeah,
point is then the Cybermen would adapt and I know for a fact now because you've told me that we get to watch a lot of Cybermen eat gold.
it's stupid. um, it's I just
It really puts a sour note on an
it was
otherwise
it was a
good.
really it was a really bad decision to introduce the gold stuff, and the problem was not just that this was a bad decision, but but that they stuck with it. Because I mean, this is Doctor Who. There are definitely things that they've kind of ignored going forward for convenience's sake, and I kind of wish this had been one of them. I wish that it was just these Cybermen that had gold weakness, and maybe you could have a new Cyberman story where they're like, yeah, those bitches were defective. Like
They
the
do
point
that
of
all
this,
the time with the Daleks. This is a different group of Daleks.
no kidding. And I mean, like the point of the Cybermen is that these are unfeeling, pragmatic, ruthless creatures because they are biological beings that have traded away their humanity in favor of technology. And that's what makes them scary is that they were us, but they fell from grace basically.
They're zombies,
They're
but
zombies.
worse
They're
because
bored.
they have
They're
minds.
scary. Yeah. And just I just picture like the cast of fucking Project Runway just firing glitter guns at these little stupid things. Yeah. Is there any points? I guess that's about it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, so is there any point in us saying which one's the best of the season, which one's the worst? Because I think that's pretty fucking self-explanatory.
No, we talked about them in that exact order too.
Yep. 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 What I will say though is I think that overall season 12 is a really fantastic season. It had a bit of a wet fart at the end, but for the
I
most part, it
really
was.
wish Revenge of the Cybermen wasn't bad,
Me
because then
too, because
this would be like one of the best seasons ever.
I think if Revenge of the Cybermen had been good, this would be the best season ever. Because like I don't think since like season 7 has a season been this consistently good and interesting. And even the stories that aren't super fantastic are still,
Two
decent and they're
episodes
fun to
long.
watch. Or they're 2 episodes long. But like Robot's kind of on the lower side of things, but I mean, it's still really fun to watch. It's
But
just
that look, Kate, that
that
look.
look. No, but like it's a really solid, great season. It just ended very unfortunately. They lost it all for the finale, and I don't really know what happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Cybermen deserve better. They're always second banana to the Daleks, but they still deserve better than that.
Yep.
So Blarg. I guess that's that about season 12.
Yeah. It was a good season. I hope season 13 is half as good, at minimum.
Looking at the roster for season 13, I think we have some pretty damn good stuff coming.
Good.
Starting with what's next week, it's Terror of the Zygons, the season 13 premiere, which was supposed to be the season 13 or the season 12 finale, but it got held over because BBC wanted the season to start in August for some fucking reason.
I hope Zygons is good.
I I've heard good things. I don't think I've seen this one myself.
They're pretty iconic. Classic series villain that had only just finally shown up in the modern series.
I thought the Zygons were only in this one story though. I don't remember them ever coming back.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, maybe they did though. I don't remember. We'll
Maybe
have
they're
to
just
watch them find
iconic
out.
because they look so fucking weird.
They do look so fucking weird.
And not
Um,
in a bad way, like some of the fucking weird shit we've seen.
yeah,
Like
we'll see a fair amount of them though because the Tom Baker audios do use the Zygons, um, and so does the McGann audios actually. But on the TV show, I don't know if they're coming back or not.
all right,
Anyway,
so we'll be back with that.
great.
Bye, everyone.